and then our program will start promptly at 3:30. Thank you. Up on the screen is the agenda. So we've moved from the informal meet and greet into the candidate speeches. First of all, welcome to the 2022 general election Meet the Candidates here in Carillon. It is hosted by our Civic Committee. I am Mary Woods, Chair of the Civic Committee and moderator for today's event. We're going to start the program now. Please rise as Carillon's Veterans Family Organization present the colors, and make room for them, please.
Ready? Post.
And now Dan Guiney, Carillon's president, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Dan. Today I have to start with some sad news. Mary Ann Demerit has stepped down as co-chair of this committee. We owe a huge debt to Mary Ann for her many years of leadership and guidance. This is our 10th year providing a candidate forum. We've come a long way from the first one, thanks to the many suggestions from our own committee members and those from the residents. For today's events, we've added 2 new features. One is the slideshow behind me on the screen, and another is the questions that were submitted by our residents. Carillon is in 3 townships: DuPage 34, Lockport 1, and Plainfield 5. The ballots for the 3 are on the whiteboards in the lobby. The November ballot starts with the proposed amendment to the 1970 Illinois Constitution and ends with a Will County referendum. All the candidates for the November ballot are on the program. The inserts in the program include a list of candidates in speaking order, a blank page for taking notes, and a survey to provide your feedback. Pencils have also been provided. Because printing these documents had a deadline, we could not include candidates who responded after printing. If this is your first Meet the Candidates event, the format moves in speaker number order. Civic Committee members will pass the microphone to the next candidate to keep the program moving. I will announce each candidate's name, office, and party, and their speaker number. This information will also be displayed on the screen behind me. Because we are close to the November 8th election, schedules for candidates have become tighter and tighter. Consequently, some candidates may have to leave before the program ends. We thank them for the time they could share with us. We also have some individuals that had issues that came up, either emergency family situations or health related. So we have 3 candidates who will not be with us today, and I'll talk about that when their speaking time comes. Candidates will speak in the order they RSVP'd. Candidates have 2 minutes. We know that's tight. Our timekeeper, Civic Committee member Janet McKinnon, will track each candidate's time. When there are 15 seconds left, Janet will hold up the yellow folder to signal your time's almost up, and when your time is up, she'll switch to the red folder. Okay, let's start the speeches. So, first up, our first candidate is not here. So we're going to go to candidate number 2, and this is Judge Art Smigelski. Right?
Perfect. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to Ms. Woods and Mr. Merritt for hosting this along with the other members of that committee. Again, my name is Art Smigelski. I'm a Republican candidate for Circuit Court Judge, the Shanksted vacancy. Maroon flyer on your table with the pen attached to it when you came in is mine. Please review that for a more detailed biography of me. I want to tell you why me and what this position is all about. Circuit Court judges sit at the trial court level. There are 3 levels of the judiciary in Illinois. Supreme Court level on top, appellate court in the center, trial court level is the one at the county level here in the case of Will County. 2 types of judges sit at the trial court or circuit court level. Circuit court judges, which are elected by you, the citizens. Associate judges, which are appointed by these circuit court judges. I have been appointed and have been serving as an associate judge since March of 2015. I ask you to take that flyer and take a look at the back page and review the ratings on that. Periodically, we as judges and lawyers are also reviewed by our peers in terms of how we conduct ourselves, how we handle things, what the attorneys believe to be our knowledge and experience. Please look at mine. I'm very proud of those ratings. I'm very proud of the results that I have received from the attorneys that practice before me. These are not one-sided. This is not some anonymous board. These are prosecutors, these are defense lawyers, these are plaintiffs' lawyers, these are lawyers from every side of the aisle, and this is the consensus by which they have rated me. My experience includes government practice. I'm a former assistant state's attorney. I've been in private practice. I've now been a judge. That diversity of experience enables me to handle the duties of the circuit judge in addition to the trial court, which are managerial and administrative functions as well. Thank you.
Next slide. Oh, thank you. Next up is County Clerk Lauren Staley Ferry.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity. My name is Lauren Staley Ferry, and I am your current Will County Clerk, and it has been an honor to serve you for the last 4 years. My office handles all the vital records for Will County, birth records, death records, and marriage licenses. But I think the most high-profile job that the county clerk's office has is running and administering our local elections for the entire county. I'm very proud of our accomplishments over the last 4 years. I ran 3 successful elections during a worldwide pandemic, managing all of the legislative changes that came down, as well as keeping our election judges and the public safe. Because of the pandemic, there was a huge surge in vote by mail, and with that, we were able to automate our vote by mail program. Having this automation has saved taxpayer dollars, as well as making sure that vote by mail is accurate and efficient and secure. I'm also proud of putting a focus on our voter registration team. We have a team in the office that handles our voter rolls. And when I got into office, I added staff, got them the most up-to-date training from the state, added technology to our systems to make sure that the voter rolls are clean and secure. And for example, sadly, when somebody does pass away in Will County, we have a dedicated person and team that handles taking these people out of our system. I was extremely honored and humbled to receive the first ever Excellence in County Government Award from the Illinois State Crime Commission. They gave me this award for the transparency and integrity I brought to our elections. I have an open door policy at my office. I have the friendliest staff who support me. I have a wonderful team, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity to serve Will County. I would be honored to have your support for the next 4 years. Thank you so much for coming today.
Next up is Michael Burke, 3rd Supreme for the Kilbride vacancy.
Good afternoon, and thank you to the Civic Committee for putting this on, and thank you all for coming out. No one knows about the judges, so it's very important for you to be educated about all the offices. but certainly the judges were on the bottom of the ballot, and it's very important for you to be educated. My name is Mike Burke. I sit on the Illinois Supreme Court. One thing you need to know about me, first of all, is that I'm not a politician. Never have been a politician. I'm a judge. I've been a judge for over 30 years. I served at every level of the judiciary. I've been an associate judge, a circuit court judge, an appellate court justice, and now I sit on the Illinois Supreme Court. Began my career as a prosecutor in DuPage County, where I tried some of the most serious cases that came before the court during that time that I was there. Moved on to the bench, served 16 years on the trial court, hearing mostly criminal felony matters. 12 years on the appellate court, 2 of those years being the presiding justice of the 2nd District Appellate Court. And then in March of 2020, when Justice Bob Thomas decided to retire, the Supreme Court unanimously appointed me to sit on the Illinois Supreme Court. What you need to know about judicial elections and what you need to look at is judicial experience, judicial leadership, judicial integrity, judicial independence. The Illinois State Bar Association has recognized that in me, and I'm the only candidate in this race that's highly recommended by the Illinois State Bar Association. I have been committed my entire career to public safety as a prosecutor and as a judge. That commitment resulted in numerous police organizations endorsing me, including the Illinois Fraternal Order of Police. The Illinois Chamber of Commerce has endorsed me because they recognize that I'm fair to everyone. I'm fair to individuals that appear before us, and I'm certainly also fair to businesses because behind every business, there are people. So again, Mike Burke, Illinois Supreme Court, I ask for your support. Thank you very much.
Next up is Dee Avalar for the 85th representative.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. It is a pleasure to be here. My name is Dagmara D. Avalar, and I am the current state representative for the 85th district. Now, before I begin, I think it's very important for me to say, many of you are currently in the 98th state representative district. Due to redistricting, the lines have changed, and many of you are in the 85th now. So I have been the proud representative of the area for the past 2 years. And when I talk about what have I done in the past 2 years, I always say that it's always important that when you look at laws and when you try to do legislation, that you listen to your constituents. So a little bit about some of the work that I've done. I currently sit on the Public Safety Appropriations Committee, which is pretty much what funds anything that has to do with public safety and state funding. I also am part of the Cybersecurity and IT Committee, where we look a lot into not just consumer protection, but seeing what are some of the protections that we need to our privacy, especially now in this era of social media and technology. I'm also part of the Healthcare Availability and Accessibility Committee, and I think that for me it's really important to say these things because as I talk to constituents, some of the main issues that I hear over and over again is not just about the increasing prices, but then access to quality healthcare. Not just access, but quality healthcare. And those are some of the things that I've been staunchly working for in the past 2 years. As far as specific bills that I've done, I actually introduced a bill called HB 3954, which actually what that does is for those of you that have the homestead exemption on your property, if you miss the deadline, what this bill would allow is for that deadline to be extended so that you're not penalized and have to pay an increase in taxes and just not have that exemption. The other bill is HB 1857, homestead exception as well. Thank you.
Next up is Margaret Tyson, Board Member, District 9.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Margaret Tyson. I'm currently sitting on the Will County Board representing District 3, which includes this area, which is Bolingbrook and Romeoville and portions of Plainfield. I brought a visual aid to let you know that the pink area is District 9. This is the area that I will represent if I'm elected, and I hope that I have your votes. Thank you. Oh wait, I'm sorry. So I'm on the Will County Board, and I'm also the majority whip on the Will County Board. And I've been on the board since 2019. I was appointed, and then I was elected on 2020. And I'm looking to be re-elected for 2022. And I'm on several committees, and my job as a committee member is to participate solicit feedback and let my constituents know what's going on. I'm on the Board of Health Committee, I'm also on Executive Committee and the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and I would like your support. Oh, also, by the way, the reason why I brought a visual aid because I'm a substitute teacher, so I know people like visual aids, and that's why I brought it. So hopefully I can have your vote. Thank you very much.
Next up is Gretchen Fritz for County Clerk.
Thank you so much for this opportunity and thank you for coming. My name is Gretchen Fritz, I'm running for Will County Clerk. I am the challenger and you have heard my opponent say that her staff cleans the voter rolls, but I have people coming to me telling me story after story about how they're receiving ballot applications for vote by mail ballots for deceased loved ones and for deceased owners of the previous owners of their home. And so how can this be? How is it that they claim they're cleaning the voter rolls, but people are still getting mail for these deceased persons? And they can't answer that question. They have not answered that question. The other thing that I will do is make sure that previous occupants of the home and apartments and things are also cleaned off the voter rolls. The other thing that we have to keep in mind is that with keeping all the vital records, birth records, death records, marriage records, who do you want to keep track of your records? Who's the best person for that job? I would say hire a librarian for that job. I have a master's of library and information science, so I know all about record keeping. I know all about that sort of database, cleaning, retention, information architecture. So that is what I bring to the position. I have been on the county board since 2014. I'm in my second term, finishing up. And I would just love to serve you as your Will County Clerk. Thank you very much.
Next up is Mary O'Brien, 3rd Supreme Kilbride vacancy.
Thank you, and thank you to the committee for once again having us here. My name is Mary Kay O'Brien. I'm currently the presiding judge of the 3rd District Appellate Court, which sits in Ottawa, which includes all of Will County. I have held that position only 19 years in December, and prior to that, I was in private practice. I owned my own law practice in Bradley, Illinois, and also had served in the General Assembly for 4 terms, where I chaired the Criminal Law Committee, where we expanded the statute of limitation for child sex offenders. I required sex offenders not only to register where they live, but where they work. But I also had the opportunity to do a tremendous amount of work in other areas of the law that are so vital to the position I'm seeking. I expanded access to generic drug bills by changing regulations in the state. We did the grain insurance code rewrite. For those of you who had, when farmers put their grain in the elevator, that's like putting cash in the bank. I am a family farmer, and we had a collapse of a grain elevator that almost took an entire community of Morris down the drain. So those are things that I worked tremendously on, including child support enforcement. All of those areas of law, doing budgeting and being on the audit commission, really give me a wealth and breadth of experience, not just in criminal law, but in civil law as well. And that's why I have been endorsed by the Illinois Coalition of Frontline Police Officers, that has over 20,000 members, by the Independent Voters of Illinois, by the Associated Firefighters of Illinois, by the Illinois Federation of Teachers, the Illinois Education Association, and numerous others, including the AFL-CIO, because there's a tremendous amount of experience across the board that's needed, and I look forward to having your support. Thank you very much.
Next up is Sunny Choi Williams, 3rd Appellate Right vacancy.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Sunny Choi Williams, and I'm running for the 3rd District Appellate Court that covers all of Will, DuPage, Kankakee, Iroquois, LaSalle, Grundy, and Bureau. I'm the current city attorney for City of Lockport, right across Renwick Bridge, which is undergoing construction, so it's a little hassle getting here. But I've been an attorney for 23 years, dedicating most of my career as a public servant. I started out my career as an assistant public defender, and I was a prosecutor. And when I was a prosecutor, I treated everyone fairly, regardless of whether or not they could hire an attorney. And I've also defended good police officers who get sued for doing their job in federal court for excessive use of force or for allegation of unlawful arrest. I've saved taxpayers a lot of money by being successful in defending them. I also serve as a chair member on the hearing board and by appointment by the Illinois Supreme Court as a hearing panel member who oversees misconduct cases against attorneys. I have not only that broad range of experience, but I've also done appeals before the state and the federal appellate court, including having the rare distinction of handling a case all the way from the administrative hearing level to the Illinois Supreme Court and being successful at that. But not only do I bring that broad range of experience that is needed on the appellate court, but I bring humility. I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was 8 years old with my family with nothing but the clothes on my back. My parents worked backbreaking jobs to provide for us and put food on the table. And what that teaches you is hard work, grit, and empathy for others. All characteristics needed to be a good judge on the appellate court. I also serve the community by being active on the board of Perry State Legal Services that provides attorneys who are wrongfully denied benefits, elderly senior citizens who are wrongfully denied benefits. So please vote for me on November 8th. Thank you.
Next up is Bill Foster, 11th Congress.
Thank you. Good afternoon here. I'm Bill Foster. I am a scientist, a businessman, and I am proud to represent most of the area around here as your representative in the United States Congress. As a scientist, I worked at Fermi National Laboratory for 23 years. I was on the team that discovered the top quark, the heaviest known form of matter, and the last of the giant machines at Fermi Lab was one that I invented and led the teams that built it. As a businessman, when I was 19 years old, my little brother and I started a company in our basement with $500 from my parents. And that company now manufactures about 70% of the theater lighting equipment in the United States. And I'm very proud that our company has created over 1,200 American manufacturing jobs and that we have kept all of those jobs in the Midwest, which is not easy, but over the last 40 years we've succeeded in doing it. In Congress, I serve on the Science Committee, where I was very involved in the passage of the CHIPS and Science Act, which is the act that will bring the computer chip manufacturing business back to the United States, which is something that's overdue and very important. I also served on the Financial Services Committee, where I was involved in the writing and the passage of the Wall Street Reform Act, that for the past 10 years has prevented the banking crisis that used to plague our country like clockwork every 3 to 5 years. And I've also been proud to vote to protect Social Security and Medicare from constant assaults from the Republican Party. My mother worked for Senator Paul Douglas back in the 1950s, and she would describe how every year the Republicans had a new scheme to defund and destroy Social Security and Medicare. A few years ago it was being called privatizing, now it's being called sunsetting. That's what they're doing now, and it hasn't changed in 50, 70 years. And so I've been very proud to carry the torch to protect those two valuable programs, and in fact to expand them and extend them, among other things, in capping the cost at $2,000 a year for Medicare Part D, which will transform many seniors' lives who missed bankruptcy. Anyway, I'm Bill Foster, and I really thank you for being this. This is an important part of our democracy.
Next up is Rachel Ventura.
Thank you. My name is Rachel Ventura. I'm running for State Senate in the 43rd District. I currently serve on the Will County Board, and I'm also the Vice President of our Forest Reserve. I chair the Public Health and Safety Committee, where we were able to get through a referendum that will be on your ballot for mental health services, the 708 Board. This creates a dedicated funding source for mental health that expands beyond what we have today, so there's no duplicated services, but people, regardless of insurance, can get the help they need, whether it's at our health department or organizations that can apply for those funding. So please vote yes for that. Ultimately, I want our tax dollars to serve everybody. I don't want them to be siphoned off for bribery charges or corruption. That's why I've never taken a dime from corporate PACs, and I never will. This will be one politician that is not bought and paid for. We do need education funding reform to lower our taxes, property taxes. We need a strong working economy, and we need to address the climate crisis. As a single mom of twins, I know that many families are struggling, and we can do much better. I believe that we do need honest and compassionate people in office who will fight for everybody, and that is a promise I will make to you. My education is in math and science, and I bring these skills with me to Springfield. I know how important data is, that facts do really matter, especially when setting laws and policies. So I'm asking for your vote because I have the ethics, the heart, the head, and the experience to lead down in Springfield, but not just lead, shake things up, and have an honest government that you can be proud of and trust again. So again, my name is Rachel Ventura. I'm in the 43rd District. I was endorsed by the Daily Herald, but the most important endorsement is your vote on or before November 8th. Thank you.
Next up is Bob Bodak, 12th Circuit, Powers Vacancy.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Bob Bodak, and I ask for your consideration for Will County Circuit Court Judge. Every attorney I know can tell you a story about how they decided to practice law. Some have experienced tragedies. Others have had it ingrained in their soul since they were young children. I'm a third-generation attorney, following my father and two grandfathers. Even my grandmother was among one of the first women to be admitted into John Marshall Law School, but I did not follow them right away. I earned a degree in accounting. I went to work at the First National Bank of Joliet, where I met my wife, Tracy. I later earned an MBA and became controller of Grant's Appliance. It was there in my early 30s that I succumbed to the calling to become an attorney. And so for the last 16 years, I have been a practicing attorney, not a prosecutor. But let me tell you, I'm very, very proud to have the endorsement of 4 of the more recent Will County state's attorneys, the elected state's attorneys. They know the importance of safe communities and my commitment to safety. I'm a partner of the Tom's Act Law Group. I use my accounting, business, and legal experience to help people. I represent families that have been struck by tragedy. I represent children who are faced with their first and hopefully their only brush with the law. And I help newlyweds who are buying their first home, or seniors who are downsizing so they can spend more time with their grandchildren and less time doing yard work. My varied background will serve you well, and it is unmatched in my race. In Will County, more than 50% of the courtrooms are civil matters, or for civil matters, real estate, business, family, probate, personal injury. I am ready, and I have that experience and that knowledge. More importantly, I have the temperament. I am fair, honest, and impartial. I've earned the trust of my colleagues as I serve as the president of the Will County Bar Association, and I have earned the recommendation for multiple times for service as a Will County judge. I serve on the Troy School Board, where I vote to protect the rights and choices and voices of parents. Again, my name is Bob Bodak, candidate for Will County Circuit Judge. Thank you.
Sean Walsh is listed in your program as the next speaker. He had a family emergency and will not be with us this afternoon. So our next speaker is Jessica Colon-Sayre.
Hello everyone, I am Jessica Colon-Sayre. I am your associate judge sitting in Will County on the divorce hall. I've been sitting as a judge for now 8 years. I was appointed by the circuit judges. And like Judge Nagelski had mentioned earlier, the circuits appoint the associate judges. And I was appointed in 2014. I presided over cases of civil, criminal, and family, where I presently sit. Before I became a judge, before I was appointed, I was a prosecutor for Will County for almost 12 years. 10 years of those years, I was prosecuting felony cases, where I prosecuted murder cases and sexually violent cases. I have fortunately put away really bad people, and I'm very proud of the work that I've done. The reason why I became a prosecutor is because of a tragedy that happened to me when I was in law school. My brother was 41 years old. He walked out of a bar. He went to break up a fight between 2 individuals in their 20s. He did not know them. One of them pulled out a gun. When my brother ran away, shot my brother in the back and killed him. As a result of that tragedy, I became very passionate about becoming a prosecutor. I had interest in other areas of law, but obviously anything that tragic would change your trajectory in life. And as a result of the passionate work that I had done at the State's Attorney's Office, I was appointed by the circuit judges, and I'm very proud of the work that I do. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I am a mother to a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old, and I've been married for over 21 years, and I'm a proud daughter of an iron worker. Because of my father's work ethic, I have become the person I am today. I'm the first lawyer in my family. My family's very proud of it. And I'm proud to serve the people of Will County. I love people. I love my job. So thank you for being here, and I appreciate your support.
Next, we have Donna Russell, 98th Representative.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm privileged, really privileged to be here today. If it wasn't for Carol Nicklin, I would not be here, and she's one of your residents. The way I met her was I was voting in the primaries in Bolingbrook's Golf Club, because I live in Bolingbrook. And Carol and I met at that point because she was election judge. I asked her, I said, Carol, how come there is no conservative Republican running? And she said, well, no one stepped up to do it. And she said, but if you're going to step up, here's my number. Guess what, Carol? Didn't I step up? Didn't I? Okay. So I'm here. I'm the conservative representative person that I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your prayers. I'm the one person that if you look at all the material, you're going to see actually talks about God. Because God needs to come to our assistance. He needs to make haste and help us. We are desperately in need of change. There's many things that have to be changed. We know it. We're grandparents. I'm a grandparent myself. I'm a senior citizen just like you are. And what I wanted to have happen is that we have our voices heard. The conservative voices heard. We're not being heard. I think we should be heard. And so that's why I stepped up and took this job on. Besides that, my background, I have 2 master's degrees from Benedictine University. I have certifications in project management, change management, process management, and all of those I'm going to use for you in Springfield. I've worked as a human resource professional for 30 years, and I'm going to use my experience with the unions, and for the most part, because I have excellent union experience, and I was instrumental in getting Illinois Team Excellence Awards for various manufacturers. Thank you.
Next, we have Liam Brennan, 3rd Appellate, right vacancy.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Liam Brennan, and I am a candidate for the 3rd District Appellate Court. I am a sitting judge. Indeed, I have been a judge for the last 14 years. My last assignment on the trial court was as the presiding judge of the felony division of DuPage County. For the last 2.5 years, I have been assigned to the appellate court, and I'm running to keep a seat on that court. I have rendered thousands of decisions over the last 14 years. Before serving as a judge, I was an assistant state's attorney for 10 years at DuPage and the supervisor of the domestic violence child abuse unit. I was a Supreme Court law clerk, and I was a civil lawyer. Like some of you, and I heard several of you say this in the earlier part of the session, I'm distressed by the television commercials we are seeing for judicial races. A judge's personal opinion on any issue is legally irrelevant. Judges should look only to the statutes, to the Constitution and the text, and make their decisions based on that. Any suggestion otherwise, frankly, is unethical. You know, I sometimes dislike my rulings, but that's the point. My personal opinion doesn't matter. It is the law that controls. I believe I have fairly and impartially applied the law for the last 14 years as a judge, but you don't have to take my word for it. The independent and bipartisan Illinois State Bar Association, the Bar Association for the whole state, has evaluated the candidates in my race. They have found my opponent, who has never been a judge, not recommended. The Illinois Bar Association has found me to be highly recommended. If you believe, as I do, that we need to keep politics out of judicial races, this is an independent evaluation you can trust. Again, my name is Liam Brennan, and I'm running for the appellate court, and I thank you for your time this afternoon.
Next, we have Scott Ryder, 14th Congress.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Ryder, and I am asking for your vote for the 14th Congressional District. I currently serve as the Kendall County Board Chairman, as president of a commercial services for a title company. And we live in Oswego with my wife, and my most important job is as a dad to my 7th grade daughter, who is a big-time volleyball player, and I'm missing a lot of those so that we can get out on the campaign trail. But it's worth it because this election's about her future. And I'm running for Congress because we need that change. And with my experience, I believe that we can do that for the people here in the 14th Congressional. As a county board member, I have worked very hard to bring transparency, accountability, and tax relief to our residents. Within months of being elected to the county board, I introduced and we adopted a 10-point transparency plan. Upon becoming chairman of the county board, one of the first things that we did was sought qualifications for our vendors, which resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings to the county. We also have not taken the CPI, which is the property tax increase on existing homeowners, since I've been chairman of the board as well. It's in a time when Washington, D.C. is full of hyper-partisan and defund the police rhetoric. I've had a history of working in a bipartisan manner, having been elected 3 different times as the county board chair by my peers, unanimously by Republicans and Democrats both. And this is the kind of work ethic that I'll bring to Washington, D.C. The choices in this election are very clear. We've been working hard and will continue to do so by promoting free market, good government principles, individual and economic freedom, not more government spending. We don't need more. I've been invited to steak fries and golf outings, union halls and Joliet to ethanol plants on the other side of the district in Putnam County. And what I hear over and over is the need for change, and the change is clear. Am I running out of time? I'm done. So, once again, the change is clear. I'm Scott Ryder. I'm running for the 14th Congressional District, and I humbly ask for your vote.
Okay, our next speaker scheduled was Natalie Manley. Unfortunately, she was exposed to COVID and decided it probably wouldn't be a good thing to come here. So she won't be attending. And the speaker after that is Susanna Mendoza. She has no voice, so she won't be here today. Which brings us to Raj Pillai, and I hope I pronounced your name close to accurate.
Hi, first of all, thank you for the opportunity having me here. My name is Raj Pillai. I'm a CPA, United States Navy veteran, and I live with my wife and 3 children in Plainfield. We've been there about 12 years. I immigrated to this country at the age of 12. I didn't know a lick of English. Believe it or not, it's my 3rd language. My parents didn't have a lot of money or education. I learned from them as to how to stretch every single dollar. About 6 years later, I had the great opportunity to join the United States Navy. I took it, and that's how I earned my citizenship. I got out and spent the next 7 years earning my CPA license. And I worked for one of the largest accounting firms in the world. I audited and assisted many different companies in the area and across the country, especially as far as finding mismanagement, misappropriation of money. But my most recent job was actually helping the CFOs and the organizations find solutions in revenue collections, payments, treasury operations, you name it. There's actually many companies in the area that still follow my suggestions. So I wanted to run for treasurer because I think our local government can do a lot better as to how it protects our money. So I want to bring those skills to protect our tax dollars. Recently, I found $500,000 of misappropriation in our county that actually left our county treasurer's office. Believe it or not, the issue's under FBI investigation. I've been going to every single Veterans Assistance Commission meeting. I haven't even been elected yet. To protect your tax dollars. When these board members did not cooperate, I gave them the chance, but I sued 9 of them because they were not appointed properly. And you'll know what's going on if you Google this issue, put my name into Google Find the News. And when I worked for Ernst & Young, full-time was an option. So I want to be more than your full-time treasurer. I want to be your 24/7 treasurer. Because these issues have to be brought to light, no matter what, 24 hours a day. So I'm trying to find, well, I guess I'm done. Thank you very much. I hope I've earned your vote. Thank you.
Next up is Diane Harris, 43rd Senate.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. I want to say thank you for electing me in the primary. I was here back in whatever month it was, and if you voted for me then, I want to say thank you and ask for your vote for November 8th. I'm Diane Harris, the candidate for State Senate 43rd District, and I am a social conservative. I'm a graduate from the University of Phoenix, and I've also worked for a utility company for over 30 years. I have 3 children, 1 dog, and I am the vice president for the Joliet Township Republican Organization, along with a Joliet Public Library trustee. And I believe that there are several issues that are coming up for election that we need to take a look at. One mainly is the Safety Act. And I believe if you've been paying attention, you know that that is one that we really, really need to focus in on. I support repealing it. There's a 100 out of 102 state's attorneys that said it's not safe, so there has to be some relevance in that. So I support that. My opponent does not support that. We need individuals in office who will be concerned with your safety. We are the most vulnerable. And then it moves on to education. Our children are being indoctrinated and not educated. That's another thing. It's very important. The children are our future, and we want to focus on having a future with the children that we raise here. So the schools are very important as well. Also, it is important in terms of our taxing. We've been overtaxed, and we want to reduce and remove the individuals who want to overtax and overspend our tax dollars. So again, thank you very much for having me, and again, I'd love to have your vote again this year. Thank you.
Next up, Jim Riley, County Sheriff.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carillon. Thank you, committee, for having us here tonight. I am Jim Riley. I'm your Republican candidate for Will County Sheriff. A little bit about me. I'm a 20-plus year law enforcement officer. I used to patrol this area quite often, so I've seen some familiar faces. I'm doing the red. Slow down just a little. Yeah, okay. No, we'll look on it. But the truth is, folks, I still love this job. I still love being a policeman. By choice, I'm in a squad car, and I go out there every day, and I work hard for you. And I still consider it an honor, a privilege. And every day I put on that uniform, I'm just proud to be a part of something much bigger. So thank you for allowing me to do that. I will bring that same dedication to the office of sheriff. A little bit about my background. Once I knew I was going to be in law enforcement, I went back and finished my bachelor's degree on my own time through DePaul University. During that, it took me about 8 years part-time, but I traveled all over the world. I studied law enforcement in China, Switzerland, Paris, twice in Ireland. I like Ireland. My girl back there in the green, huh? Yeah. So, well, one thing I always remember is every time that plane landed back here in the United States, this is where you want to live, folks. This is the best country in the world. And we can definitely applaud for that, right? So I went on and finished my master's in criminal law, which with everything happening with the Safety Act bill, now more than ever, our elected officials need to be educated and know what's going on. So I actually continued on and finished my doctorate PhD. I'm a published author in community policing. If you Google my name, my work is out there. It's being used all over the country. hopefully I get a chance to talk more. Thank you very much. Jim Riley.
Next up, Tim Brophy, County Treasurer.
Hello, I am Tim Brophy, your Will County Treasurer. My biographical information is on your table. It's the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, black and white boring piece, so you got to dig for it there. Also on the other side is some information on some silver coins that the Treasurer's Office is selling. If any of you want to get gifts or anything, look at that. The Treasurer's Office has two main responsibilities: property tax collections and distributions, and managing the county's financial responsibilities. The matter that Raj brought up earlier is related to the Veterans Assistance Commission, over which I have no controlling authority. Now, something we do have control over is, quarterly, we have to report to the state our expenditures and income as candidates. I hold here in my hand a report of Citizens for Pi, that would be my opponent, that was due July 15th. He signed it and filed it September 13th, almost 2 months late. There's another report here that's required when you receive donations of over $1,000. That's required to be reported within 3 days. This donation was received August 7th and reported October 7th, 61 days late. So you think if the CPA can't do his own filing and reporting properly, you have to wonder how he might handle things in the Treasurer's Office. You can't be late. On the levy side, we collect taxes for over 270,000 parcels and send out over $2 billion to over 350 taxing districts over 11 different distribution dates. Those things have to be done on time and they have to be done accurately or people don't get paid. On the Treasury side, we function as the county's bank. We're responsible for bank revenue received and all county departments for payment of expenses. Most importantly, I promised to be a full-time treasurer, and I've kept that promise. Thank you.
Next up, Dan Brady, Secretary of State. No Dan Brady? Oh, he had.
I think he wanted me to talk some more.
On his behalf. And our next speaker is Mike Kelly.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having us. Obviously, this is always a great venue to come and meet a lot of people and get our word out. My name is Mike Kelly. I am the two-term incumbent Will County Sheriff. Just started my 35th consecutive year at the Will County Sheriff's Office. I was hired in 1988 at the right young age of 21, when we all thought we knew everything about everything. I am a lifelong resident here in Will County. I've been widowed since 2018. My wife passed away of breast cancer, and I'm a proud father of 3 sons. 2014, the citizens of Will County trusted me and voted me in as Will County Sheriff. I promised them some things I would do, and that was one of the things we've done is we brought foreclosure sales into the Sheriff's Office. Prior to me becoming the sheriff prior to me, they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on hiring a law firm to do all the foreclosure sales. We brought that in-house, so we didn't have to pay all that money to an outside law firm. We reinstated the K-9 division. The prior sheriff dismantled the whole sheriff's K-9 division. Prior to myself getting elected, we brought it back. We're up to 9 dogs now, 9 K-9s. We actually have a comfort dog. We just got a comfort dog, which helps victims of crimes when they come to our station. Obviously, it's comfort. We started a new, when I was here in June, I told you about a set kit that we have, which helps us find patients of special needs patients and those who suffer from Alzheimer's and or dementia. It's a pretty, I'll talk to you more. I talked to some before about that, but I'm Mike Kelly, your current Will County Sheriff, asking for your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Next up, Catalina Law. I hope I pronounced that close right. 11th Congress.
Yes, hello everybody. It's Catalina, like the island. Who here
knew somebody who fought in World War II? Everybody. Well, I'm here today because of the influence of somebody who also fought in World War II, and that was my Uncle Al. And we would have breakfast often. And before I ran for Congress, we had one of these breakfasts. And he said, you know, Catalina, I'm a little concerned with the way the country's going because this is not the country that I grew up in. It's changing. And he said, you know, it was my generation who fought tyranny abroad. But I have a weird feeling that it's going to be your generation that's going to have to defend freedom here in our country this time. And he said that I am confident that when that time comes, your generation will step up too. And that's exactly what I'm here, because the American dream is fundamentally under attack. This is not the Democratic Party of JFK anymore. The reason why your grocery bills are high is because the Democrats in Congress today continue to spend your hard-earned taxpayer money. The reason why we have high gas prices, and again, have issues with our economy, is because the Democrat-controlled Congress today is voting on billions of dollars worth of foreign aid packages as people back home in their districts suffer. I have business owners whose companies are shutting down because of the economy and high inflation rate in this district. I have single moms that can't afford gas right now to send their kids to school. And that is because this Democrat-controlled Congress, including my opponent, continue to spend the money. They're backed by organizations that want to defund the police. And they're also backed by recently indicted former Speaker Mike Madigan. These are all facts that you can find. My mother fled corruption, poverty, and war to find freedom and opportunity here in this country from Latin America. And I will make sure that your children and your grandchildren have a shot at the American dream too. And that's by making sure the economy is back on track and we support our law enforcement. Thank you, Catalina Lau, for U.S. Congress.
Next up, Raquel Mitchell, Board Member, District 9.
Hi, I'm Raquel Mitchell. I'm currently on the County Board, District 3. So luckily, the districts have been moved around, and now I have you all. You know, my memory isn't, I don't know about you guys, but my memory isn't great. So doing this without a few notes is a fool's errand. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about what I'm doing. I sit on the Public Health Committee and the County Board, and I also sit on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. These are very robust conversations on a monthly basis, and I enjoy serving you, or I will be enjoying serving you. I'm enjoying what I do. All right, so just so you know, I have 3 important things that I feel that I can control as a county board member. There are lots of things I would like to control, but I'm just doing what I can do sitting on the county board, and that is safety and safe communities, lower taxes, and efficient and effective government. Okay? So, as let's say safety and safe communities, I grew up in Chicago. We moved out to the suburbs because our house was like Grand Central Station, getting broken into at least twice a year, I kid you not. So, to see this happening again and during this time, there's nothing more important right now than supporting our law enforcement. Okay, so I support law enforcement. I am endorsed actually by the sheriff's deputies, and I'm also endorsed by Safe Suburbs. So I support them 100%, guys. So the next thing is lower taxes. I'm probably the only person in this room that has ever voted to give taxpayers back their money and to vote herself out of a pension and salary increase. Okay, so lower taxes, no more spending like drunken sailors for the county board as far as I'm concerned. And I'm also going to say no to the mental health care tax, or that they want to put, because we already have a robust mental health funding. So none of that. Thank you.
Next up, Barry Wilson, 14th Congress.
No, yeah, this is. Hello, Barry Wilson. Barry Wilson, I'm running as an independent for the 14th Congressional District. And I'm running as an independent because, as you can see, I think we need a referee in Washington. And I'm a writing candidate because I collected 9 times as many signatures as are required for a Republican or Democrat, 3,800, but you needed 5,000 to get on the ballot instead of 400, so that's an issue we should deal with at some point. My background is I'm an attorney from Michigan. My first job was as a United Auto Worker on the assembly line, and I've also been in banking. I worked for the state of Michigan in the Commerce Department, the Treasury Department, and I started, after that, venture capital funds and private equity funds here, actually, in Michigan and then in California. My wife passed away from breast cancer also, so I needed to focus on taking care of my children and raise 4 daughters, doing well. And now I came here on a consulting project for a company in Peru. I live in Ottawa and fell in love with the area, and so decided with 4 daughters and 5 grandchildren, I was worried about where we're heading. I think we're spending too much time attacking each other, not enough time attacking the problems. And if we spend today arguing about yesterday, we're going to lose tomorrow. And I think that we need to think about that. And I think the referee, I want to take my whistle to Washington, and I'm going to blow my whistle, say, time out, let's talk about these things. And so that's my story, and I yield back the remainder of my time.
Next up, Chris Metcalf, 85th Representative.
Hello, my name is Chris Metcalf, 85th District. I want to thank all of you for showing up today, because this shows me that you care enough about the people that are going to be representing us for this state, and we need that. Okay, about me, my career has been as a chemical engineer, as a project manager building chemical plants for Fortune 500 companies all over the area. I've only been a politician for 6 or maybe 7 weeks now, so I'm not very good at this, but I'm hoping to get better. I basically want to bring common sense back to government. So I'm going to be, my big things here are, I'm going to take this when I go to Springfield to remind me, is lower gas taxes, lower income taxes, property taxes, protect law-abiding citizens, support small businesses. My wife has a small business. When I was growing up, my father had a small business, so I understand all the trials and tribulations they go through. And then fight for parental rights so that they have a say in what's being taught to their children. And that's it. Thank you.
Next up, Bill Redpath, U.S. Senator.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Redpath. I'm the Libertarian Party candidate for the United States Senate in Illinois this year. Being a Libertarian, I stand for both economic freedom and personal freedom, small government, low taxes, greatly reduced government spending. And you can find out my position on 12 to 15 different issues and more about me at my website, billredpath.com, and I respectfully ask for your vote. But for the rest of my time, I'd like to address the reprehensible ballot access laws in the state of Illinois. The Libertarian Party statewide slope, and we have a full statewide slope, required 25,000 signatures of registered voters for us to get on the ballot this year, which meant we had to do about 37,000 total signatures that we had to turn on, and we made the ballot. But if we hadn't, we would have joined, Illinois would have joined Kentucky and California as the only states that have statewide elections this year and did not have an independent or third-party candidate on the ballot for a statewide office. In years that ended in Illinois, they reduced the number of signatures required to get on the ballot because of redistricting. That means 5,000 ballot signatures for U.S. House, 3,000 ballot signatures to get on the ballot for Illinois Senate, 1,500 for U.S. House. And then all those signatures have to be in district. In years that ended in 4, 6, 8, or 10, it's much more signatures. Roughly usually about 15,000 for U.S. House, 5,000 for Illinois Senate, about 2,500 for the Illinois House. And this is many more signatures. Republicans and Democrats just have to get a small fraction of that number of signatures to get on the ballot for their respective primaries. But even with the reduced number of signatures this year, greatly reduced number of signatures to get on the ballot, this year, out of 17 U.S. House districts, there are only 2 candidates, non-Republican, non-Democrat, for Illinois Senate, 59 seats, only 2 candidates, non-Republican and non-Democrat, and for the Illinois House, 118 elections, all candidates, Republicans or Democrats, no third party, no independent candidates. We are supposed to be a beacon of democracy in this world. Illinois falls far short in that regard, and people in the state legislature and the governor should change those laws, but they won't do it. It's up to us to put the pressure on them to get them to do it. Thank you.
Next up, Lauren Underwood, 14th Congress.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to be with you. My name is Lauren Underwood, and I serve as the Congresswoman representing the 14th Congressional District. Thanks to redistricting, the 14th District now includes part of this community here at the Carillon, and I'm really delighted to be with you. I grew up in Naperville. I'm a nurse, and I've spent my career working to expand health care coverage in communities across our country. I worked to implement the Affordable Care Act at the federal level, and then joined the Obama administration, where I worked on public health emergencies and disasters. I decided to run for Congress in 2018 after attending a town hall that our then Congressman hosted, where he promised to protect health care coverage for people like me with pre-existing conditions. He broke his word, so I ran for office, and we won. And I became the youngest Black woman to ever serve in the Congress. Since I've been in office, we've taken action to support hardworking people and seniors just like you. Most recently, this summer, I was very proud to support the Inflation Reduction Act, historic legislation that finally allows Medicare to negotiate prescription drug costs, finally puts a cap, an out-of-pocket cap on Part D prescription drug costs. So for those of you who are on Medicare, you will not pay more than $2,000 out of pocket for your coverage. And for those of you who are diabetic, for the first time, you'll be able to have the comfort of knowing that you can access insulin for $35 or less a month. The Republicans were uniformly against this policy. And in fact, they have put out policy position papers and taken an opportunity to try to cut Social Security. We will not let that happen. The actions that we are taking in Congress are to support folks like you and ensure that we have retirement security, economic security, and health care for everyone. Thank you so much.
Elizabeth Caparelli-Rock, you are here?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Caparelli-Rock, and I am here to let you know that I am running for the Will County ROE Superintendent of Schools. I have served in schools, both public, private, and collegiate for the last 23 years. I have served as Dean of Students at Bolingbrook High School, a very large high school very nearby. I have been a special education teacher, a director of special education, an executive director of special education, and a principal of students. I have a wide range of experiences, and I also serve on the Will County ROE as trustee. I'm not a politician, and I think that that's a very good thing, because in education I don't feel that we should have politics. Unfortunately, as I am here today, we have several people over in Plainfield that are combating a drag queen play, whatever it is, for third graders. And they are rioting that right now as we speak. So I do not stand for that. I'm thinking that Senate Bill 818 has no place in our school districts. And if you are in support of that, then we are like-minded. I do have the endorsement of the Will County deputies, and we need to get back to common sense education. We need to focus on academics. We need to take politics out of the school, get back to curriculum, get back to educating our students. And if I am the person for you, I hope to earn your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
And I believe our last speaker is John Connor, 12th Circuit, Schoenstead vacancy.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the committee. My name is John Connor. I was a 20-year prosecutor with the Will County State's Attorney's Office. I live in Lockport. I grew up in Joliet. Some of you might be familiar with my father, Charlie Connor, who's mayor back in the day, and also chief judge for the circuit. As a prosecutor, I left the State's Attorney's Office as chief of the Major Crimes Unit. I had also run the Computer Crimes Unit, and I instituted and managed the special grand jury that indicted Drew Peterson prior to us taking him to trial back in 2012. I had a lot of experience in protecting children. As a computer crimes unit chief, I oversaw search warrants that put hundreds of child predators behind bars. And what skills do I have that are unique that I bring to the table? And 20 years of computer forensics and digital forensics training relating to the courtroom is what I uniquely bring to the table. That's basically more experience than any other judge or prosecutor has in terms of digital forensics. And finally, as a state senator, where I went after I left the state's attorney's office, I received Legislator of the Year awards last year from Others Against Drunk Driving, the Illinois Probation and Court Services Association, and the Illinois Funeral Directors Association, all for common sense pieces of legislation that I put through that solve problems for people here in Illinois. So, and I'd like to, I know all of that is kind of dry, but I'd like to leave you with a little laugh. My slogan is very easy to remember because it rhymes, and it's Vote Connor for your honor. So, thank you all very much.
So thank you, candidates. Our next portion of the program is new. On September 7th, we asked our residents to submit questions and identify which candidates by office they wish to answer their questions. Candidates were provided these questions on Friday. Each candidate will have only 1 minute to respond if you desire. We know this will be challenging. That's good. For candidates at the federal level, a question submitted by Judy Wedo of Carlisle. And what we'll ask is, if you are a candidate at the federal level, if you wish to answer this question, when I'm done reading it, please stand up. Does the president have the power to forgive student loans? If so, where does the power come from, and is this a prudent move? If not, what are you going to do about it? Should the government get out of the student loan business since it has not saved taxpayers' money and the cost of college has skyrocketed? That's for candidates at the federal level.
I got one first.
We'll go around.
Yeah, well, the first part of that question is, does the president have the power? The answer is yes. It's the Higher Education Relief Opportunities Act for Students, Public Law 10876, passed by a Republican-controlled Congress and signed by President Bush on January 15, 2002. So yes, the power exists. The second part of that question is it prudent and a good idea? And this comes to the general question of whether the government has a role in helping students get their education. And I take us back to the original GI Bill. Coming out of World War II, we had a very large government debt, and the greatest generation still decided that they should risk further debt by helping students or helping the GIs coming back from the war get education, get job training. And when you look at it, the taxpayer has gotten their money back many times over from that investment. Because guess what? If you have a better education, you have higher salaries and you pay higher taxes, and the government wins, the taxpayer wins, and especially the students win. So I'm a strong supporter of government assistance of student education.
I have candidates, if you'll give your name before you address the answer, that would be great. That was Bill Foster first.
This is Carillon Civic. My opponent is Bill Foster. I strongly oppose this, and I will tell you why. It is one thing for the GI Bill, but the majority of the people who are now with student loans is my generation, and I don't believe that you all should be footing a bill to my generation. They can work hard, they can find a job, and they can pay themselves. This is absolutely unacceptable. Government has gotten too big, the spending has gotten too big, and It's time that we rein in the spending and we get my millennial generation working hard. College is too expensive, sure, but get a job and pay. I went to community college because I knew that it would help me save money. I worked to pay my bills. That's what everybody else should do. That's what you all did in this room. You didn't ask the government to foot the bill for you. Neither should my generation.
Thank you. Oh, Scott Ryder, 14th Congressional. And I chose to go to school. I chose to take on student loans. I paid them off. You can ask my wife how excited she was to inherit those when I did pay those off. It's not up to you. It's a tax on the 87% of the people that have not paid, or everybody else that take care of their student loans. It comes down to $2,000 per person, $2,000 for everyone that's in this room that we have to pay because somebody else can't pay their own bills. So it's not up to us to be able to do that. And of those that are eligible, they're considering 75% of them are going to take care of it. Well, now it's up to 81% of the people that are looking to take advantage of the situation. So that means that of those that are eligible, you will be paying for that. You will be paying for their college education. That's just wrong. I completely agree with what Kevin Love just said. It's not up to you to take care of our bills. We can do it ourselves. Thank you.
Barry Wilson, 14th Congressional District. And I ran the student loan program for the bank that I worked at back in Michigan. And I can tell you that somebody was expecting to get paid for that money that was borrowed. And so if the president has some mystical ability to forgive debt, I wish he'd pass his hand over my wallet and get rid of some of my credit card debt. He's not shifting, he's not forgiving that debt, he's changing who pays for that debt. Because we processed loans, we sold it into the secondary market, and there was somebody out there that was expecting to get paid. And if the federal government guaranteed the loans, if the federal government had to pay it, they would go back and make you pay it through your taxes if you were a student and didn't pay your debt. So I agree.
Lauren Underwood, 14th Congressional District. Under current federal law, Congressman Foster is correct, the Higher Education Act does extend the power to modify or cancel student debt to the Secretary of Education. And the President of the United States has the existing authority to direct the Secretary of Education to take this action. Now, I do support the President's actions to offer the student debt relief. And in the Congress, we have also taken action, most recently in the federal funding bill that was signed into law this March. We passed the largest Pell Grant increase in over a decade. And so we know that there are so many students in our congressional district. We have 4 four-year colleges. And these are students who come from low-income backgrounds and who are Pell eligible. And we are now helping them achieve the American dream and to get their college education and make sure that they don't have crushing debt that is holding my generation back and millennials from reaching our financial milestones. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad to have a Libertarian for U.S. Senate. Does the President have the power to forgive student loans? No. But don't ask me. Ask Nancy Pelosi. She said so last year. Nancy Pelosi said, no, the President doesn't have the power to do it, but he went ahead and did it anyway. Is this a prudent move? No, it's a perverse redistribution of wealth from society as a whole. People who are going to college are going to be relatively well off. And absolutely, it's absolutely unjust. And I'll tell you one other thing. Should the federal government get out of the student loan business? Yes, colleges should move in. If colleges were creditors to the students that were attending their institutions, they'd be a lot more wise and a lot smarter about whom to extend student loan credit to. But a great idea, Milton Friedman's book, if you haven't read Capitalism and Freedom, 1962, it's a great book, but he talks about equity investment, voluntary equity investment in students, whereby they are not in debt, but the person investing in the student for a limited time after their graduation gets a portion of their earnings. They get out of school with no debt, and it's a great way to help people with investment in human capital in our society. Read Capitalism and Freedom, Milton Friedman. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Next question for candidates at the state level, submitted by Marion Fiedler of Canterbury. I would like information or an explanation about Amendment 1, which will be on the ballot. It is not clear what this amendment will do and how it might affect my taxes. Remember to start with your name, please.
Okay, how many minutes do we have? Okay, I'll make it short and sweet.
We said it would be hard.
Diane M. Harris, candidate for state senate in the 43rd district. I work for a local union for over 30 years. There are many, many unions, local this, local that, IBW, contractors, every union, you name it. And they're already there. This amendment is asking for something that we already have. I am so tired of the big government, redundant programs over and over and over again. Asking to support Amendment 1 is only asking for something that we already have. If you're not interested in joining the union, then don't expect the benefits. We can't afford to keep paying for additional programs. That's my thing.
I'm Donna Russell. I'm running for state representative. First of all, I understand that some of you may have been in a union or maybe are part of a union getting pensions from a union. And I know that in the past, management practices have kind of spurred that movement. So the unions are here, okay? They already have a lot of rights in Illinois. I know I've worked with many unions. Their priority right now is money. Because of jobs leaving Illinois, the jobs were union jobs, they're short on dues. So in order to actually get money, they want to lock this into Amendment 1 that they can negotiate for other economic changes that are happening. I feel that right now, as a person that's going to be in the state representative, as a state representative, the state laws should govern that, not an amendment.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Dagmara Aguilar, and I'm the state representative of the 85th district. I wanted to talk a little bit about this, and we know we only have a minute. When it comes to the amendment is to protect and to create even more protections for workers. Somebody had said something about paying our fair share. We know that historically wages have been going down. And what we want to make sure is that the right to work measures do not happen in Illinois. What happens with right to work, which is something that somebody has not said before, is that in states like Wisconsin, you can have somebody who's part of a union and that person chooses not to pay their union dues even though the union's fighting for better wages for them. I don't think that's fair. People were talking about we need to pay our own fair share, then we need to be supporting the workers' amendments rights. Thank you.
Hi, Rachel Ventura for State Senate 43rd District. So this, as Dagmar says, this solidifies your right to organize. You have that right under the Constitution of the United States, and that means that in Illinois, we want to make sure that we can't undo that with some General Assembly law. So that's what it does. It codifies the right to unionize, the right to organize into our Illinois Constitution. This does not impact your taxes. What this does is ensure that we have a working economy. We know when people are paid a living wage, we have extra income, we go out and spend that, and it grows the economy. When workers are exploited and have slave wages, then the rest of us pay that in welfare and other handouts, and we need to end that. We need people working a living wage job so that we have a strong economy, and this will guarantee that, so please vote yes.
Chris Metcalf, 85th District, State Representative. What this is for government workers to join a union. Okay? It doesn't do anything for any other workers whatsoever. It also eliminates 350 laws that are now on the books. I guess they weren't needed for anything. Why did we pass them in the first place? So, these are some of the questions I have, and I've talked to several people, and it is going to cost you $2,000 every year is what they're estimating. But every time I find somebody estimating a price, it's usually double or triple that. So, like I said, trying to bring common sense back to government. Oh, and by the way, there is a group that will be allowed to be criminals in prison.
Okay, our next question is for candidates at the county level, submitted by Charles Major of Carlisle. Would you be in favor of consolidating all the governments, all the local governments into Will County run governments? This has been done in Lexington, Kentucky and Indianapolis, Indiana, and saved a lot of money and provided better service.
Thank you. My name is Margaret Tyson. I'm on the Will County Board. My question would be, before I weigh in on being in favor of consolidating Will County run governments, I would like to analyze the report on how long and how much it would cost to consolidate Lexington, Kentucky, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Some of the questions I would ask those cities' administrators would be the following. Did they conduct a survey to ask their constituents what they thought about potential unit government, and that's what they called it? How much did the early retirement packages and pensions cost? How much did it take to eliminate redundant jobs and to reorganize the government to save money and provide better services? And finally, how much did they pay their consultants for this report? One additional thing, in summary, a consolidated Will County government would require an elected county executive to run Will County, which would eliminate mayors, villages, city, and township government, and consolidate school districts in Will County. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tim Brophy. At the moment, this matter is outside the purview of my office, but these are my thoughts. Our founders intended ours to be a participatory democracy. The success of this great experiment depends entirely on your involvement, like today, and that of many others at many levels. There may be improvements and efficiencies to be employed by adjustments to the way we govern ourselves. However, there are risks to consolidations, including the transfer of power from elected people to unelected people. Reducing the number of those elected may result in the unintended consequence of empowering bureaucracy. So I would welcome the careful study of any such suggestions. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Raquel Mitchell. I'm running for County Board 9. I came from township government. I was a township trustee. And by the way, I would like to say, as a township trustee, I founded the purest form of government where you, the citizens, can interact with me. But with that said, I would also like to have efficient, effective government that hasn't left me. So I'm not opposed to consolidation, but let's just talk about this really quickly. So we have over 1,400 townships. Do you know how many levels of government we have in Illinois? How many units of government we have in Illinois? And almost 7,000 units of government. We are $313 billion in debt in Illinois. So getting rid of the township, all 1,400 townships, really isn't going to solve the spending problem we have in Illinois. So if the idea was to have a consolidated township into the county to reduce taxes, the spending is not going to give you what you want. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for your question. This is one of the initiatives that I've already put out in my campaign. I would like to have a major initiative to consolidate the county auditors and treasurer's offices. This has been done in other counties. Right now, I believe the treasurer's office has 19 employees and the auditor's office has 6. There's multiple systems that the county executive, county auditor, and the county treasurer use that are redundant. most of which have the same information. So consolidating that at the end, we save the taxpayers money, and that's my highest priority. Thank you.
Gretchen Fritz for Will County Clerk. I love saving money, but I would want to see the math on how this saves money. Since I've been on the county board, what I have heard from residents is that they want services to be more convenient. They want satellite offices, not centralization. But I've also learned a lot about intergovernmental agreements in my time on the board. There may be ways to use intergovernmental agreements to co-locate services and close down and sell buildings that are no longer needed. That might be a way to save money. Again, I wouldn't rule it out, but I would need to see the math on it, like some others have said. Gretchen Fritz for Will County Clerk. Thank you.
Lawrence Daly Ferry, Will County Clerk. Like others have said, I think that we're all in favor of looking for ways to save money. As far as consolidation goes, it is out of the purview of my office right now, and oftentimes these conversations start at the state level as well. I do have great relationships with our legislators on both sides of the aisle and our county board members. I'm on the legislative committee for the county clerks right now, and I'm actually on a national subcommittee regarding elections. So for me, it's important to keep those conversations going with our legislators to find out if these discussions are taking place. As far as consolidation goes, if it makes sense, I think we need to see those studies and see the numbers. But if there's something that makes sense, I have the experience to make that happen in my office if that were to come to fruition. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, candidates. The next question.
Can I say something? I have a question.
Yes, Charles.
I lived in Lexington, Kentucky, and it brought a lot more police. I think it tripled the number of police in the county, and we did it for a lot less money, and it doesn't sound as crazy as you think. It can be done very rapidly, but it puts the sheriff of the county, like, he gets 10 times as many police to handle his problems.
Thank you, John.
It works. It really does. I don't know about Indianapolis, but it worked in Lexington.
Okay, our next question for Supreme Court candidates submitted by Sharon Brodsky of Bristol. I am interested in the Illinois Supreme Court candidates' positions on women's right to abortion and control over their own bodies.
My name is Mike Burke. I sit on the Illinois Supreme Court. As a sitting judge, I cannot give my opinion on issues that, my personal opinion on issues that may come before the court. But let's talk not hyperbole, let's talk reality. The Dobbs decision from the U.S. Supreme Court sent this issue back to the state legislatures. We saw a flurry of activity throughout the nation. In Indiana, they passed restrictive laws. Nothing happened in Illinois. The reason nothing happened is because in 2019, the Illinois legislature passed a law that says that it's a fundamental statutory right for a woman to have an abortion in the state. That's the law. I always tell people, if you don't like the law, then elect different legislators to pass different laws. Do not look to the judiciary to make the law. That's not our job, and I've never legislated from the bench. 30 years as a judge, over 30 years, never legislated from the bench once. Because again, I'm elected as a judge, not as a legislator. The bedrock of the Constitution is separation of powers. Keep us in our lane. Get different legislators if you don't like that law. If you like the law, then keep the legislators in that you have right now.
Thank you. I'm Mary Kay O'Brien, and I am running for the Supreme Court in the 3rd District. And the fact of the matter is that in the last time the Illinois Supreme Court has dealt with the issue of the constitutionality of abortion in Illinois was in 2013 in the Flores decision, and it based its holding on the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Roe versus Wade, which said that we had due process protections would cover that. Of course, because now that has been overturned and it will come back to the states, the state legislatures will pass the statutes, but it is the Illinois Supreme Court that will determine whether or not any statute that is either currently in place or to be passed will pass constitutional muster as a matter of the Illinois state constitution. And that is something that will be done, and there's already lawsuits that have been filed. So the Supreme Court and like with all other statutes, determines whether these numbers would be constitutional. So thank you.
Okay, our final question from residents comes again from Charles Major of Carlisle. And this is for all candidates, so anybody that wants to answer this. Because the COVID dollars have been spent, how will you adjust your budget? Cut back staff, or services, or raise taxes?
All right, so this is Raj Pillai, running for Will County Treasurer. I think I mentioned this VAC issue. This is about COVID dollars. That check that was meant for veterans that my opponent, Mr. Brophy, signed off on and actually sent it to a friend of a former superintendent was COVID dollars. There's a lot of accountability that needs to be held on the COVID dollars that came in. So I think that we have to look at that more effectively and understand how it benefits the taxpayers. And I think that I want to encourage every taxpayer to come to these meetings, just like I have, to address the issue. And as far as I think something else my opponent mentioned, that's blatantly false. I filed my reports on time. There was an amendment filed, however. That was because there was additional information that came to light that we didn't have before. Thank you.
Rachel Ventura for State Senate in the 43rd, but I currently serve on the Will County Board and the Forest Reserve. I was the only Democrat who voted no on the gas tax. I believe we have unprecedented opportunity right now to invest in our communities because of the COVID money, the CARES, and the ARPA dollars. And we have done that. We've done a really good job at Will County in making sure these dollars are well spent. That's why I'm trying very hard to hold the line on taxes at the county level. I think you guys will see that in our next couple of votes. And then at the state level, I think the same thing. We need to hold the line on that spending, but invest these dollars wisely so that we can see the growth and the long-term investment that these dollars have. And I'm excited to do that in Springfield. Thank you.
We're talking about Will County Board, District 9. What Rachel said is, true to a degree, right? So initially, we said that it was going to be 5%. That's what was proposed. And then after that, it was 3.5%, 3%. Well, some of us want 0%. Some of us don't want to raise taxes. When you go to the grocery store, it's already a $40, $50 commitment. You go for a local brand, there you next thing you know, it's $40 when you check out. So we're trying not to raise. Some of us do not want to raise taxes on you on the board. I really wish that we would not do it at all, and that's where I stand. Thank you.
I'm Gretchen Fritz, running for Will County Clerk. I agree with what the county board members have said. I'm on the county board right now, and the COVID money was intended to cover costs that were extraordinary, that were over and above our normal expenses that had to do with, personal protection equipment, plexiglass enclosures and things of that nature. And I believe that the county board did a good job of allocating that money for those extraordinary expenses and not incorporating that into operating budgets or staff salaries or anything like that. So the way that we budgeted that money was not for long-term reliance in any way. So I don't think it's going to be an issue in the clerk's office or any other county office that we have budgeted for. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry Wilson, 14th Congressional District. I just want to say, as a general matter, we're all sitting here worried about inflation and what's happening with prices. I think just as a general matter, we've got to understand that inflation is caused really by four things. The government spending too much, taxing too much, regulating too much, and printing money. And if we stop doing those four things, I'm a moderate, so I think there is a middle ground, but those are the things we have to stop doing, so that's my position on it.
Bill Redpath, Libertarian for U.S. Senate. Of course, the COVID dollars came from the federal government. You've probably seen the stories about the Paycheck Protection Program and all the fraud associated with it, and the malfeasance at or at least incompetence at the Small Business Administration. We were overwhelmed by what was going on there, how badly the federal government managed this. But as far as cutting spending or raising taxes, we have to forthrightly address the entitlements crisis. I do that on my website, the plans for Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. The Social Security Trust Fund is going to run out in 2034. The Medicare Trust Fund is going to run out in 2026. Don't believe politicians who will say, we're not going to change these programs, or we can't change these programs. They're going to change one way or another, that's for sure. We're on our way to 400%. In 75 years, the General Accountability Office says we're going to have a debt-to-GDP ratio of 400%, 75 years from now. The wheels are going to come off long before then. We have to change our ways, and it's mainly through reducing the size of government. Thank you.
Hi, Tim Brophy, Will County Treasurer. My office used some COVID funds to print the second page of the tax bill last year when the county board approved the relief, so we cut the payments into 4 parts instead of 2 parts. So there was extra expense for that second page. This year, you may have noted, we went back to the 1-page bill, and so that money was, that's the only money we spent. With regard to the VAC money, my signature in the county executive is stamped on every check that leaves the building. My statutory duties, which my opponent doesn't understand, are to make sure that the paydee's name is spelled correctly and I mail it to the right place. That's the extent of my duties. I can't tell the sheriff what cars to buy. I can't tell the VAC how to spend their money that the county board gives them. I can't tell the county clerk how to spend the money the county board gives them. My job is administrative. His lack of understanding of that is a very concerning thing.
One last.
Lawrence Daly Ferry, Will County Clerk. I just want to say I was grateful for the CARES funding during the pandemic. We were able to use that funding for PPE for our election judges, and we had sanitizing stations at every early voting location at every single polling place. We had plexiglass in the office, and we were very grateful for that funding. However, we don't have that funding anymore. It's not in our operational budget, and we continue to budget appropriately and wisely, and continue to look for grants as well. We constantly have someone in our office that's looking for grants and ways for us to budget wisely. So, thank you.
Thank you. Again, State Representative Dagmara Avalar, 85th District. And as I had mentioned before, I was elected 2 years ago, and when we were in the negotiations around what do we need to do with COVID funds, we also knew that the reality at the end of the day was that we also had $4.5 billion in debt in the unemployment trust fund. And one of the things that I care about is making sure that we use data for smart decision making. And what we ended up doing with a lot of that money, actually $2.7 billion of the funding that came through the federal government, was put that in the unemployment trust fund so that we are not paying more interest on it. So I really believe in making sure that data-driven decisions inform our budget making.
Thank you. I am Diane M. Harris, candidate for State Senate, the 43rd District. I think a lot of individuals spoke words from the Will County Board. I am one of the Joliet Public Library trustees, and we did a renovation, and we used bonds. So we did not have to raise any of the taxes of the people. And I give you the same information when I go to Springfield, and I'm taking a look at the operating budget, that I will not raise your taxes. So I ask for your vote in November.
Okay, I want to thank Judy, Marion, Charles, and Sharon for your questions. Thank you, candidates, for that really hard exercise. Before we end the program, we want to share with you several announcements and important information, very brief. Our event has been videotaped and will be available for viewing on YouTube and Rumble, maybe Rumble. The links to these sites will be sent to all residents and candidates in a broadcast email or in an email to the candidates. Residents living in Lockport Township and DuPage Township vote right here in the Clubhouse Theater. Plainfield Township residents vote at Creekside School. We will send out a link to the clerk's website for locations where you can vote early in person. Remember, you can participate in same-day registration on Election Day. Voters must cast their ballots at the same time they register. Election judge mail-in cards are here on the stage. Please take one if you are interested. This is a paid position. We want to thank Carillon's Master Association, CAMA, for their support. Civic committee members and volunteers, please stand. Residents, remember you have a survey form with your program. We ask that you please complete that and place it in the basket on the desk by the front door. Candidates, we would also love your feedback. You have a survey form as well, and you can put it in the same basket on the way out. Reminder to candidates, your literature will not be left in the clubhouse. For residents, please remove from the table as all campaign literature will be discarded. We thank each of you for attending. This concludes today's Meet the Candidates event.